crack straight into it. Welcome everyone to the first WAX OIG Roundtable. Today is July 18th. We are kicking off this new format with an agenda. So first I'll walk you through our agenda. As you can see here, we're going to talk about OIG elections, some updates and the backlog of the OIG, which we maintain on GitHub. I'm going to get into the current timelines of evaluations. Right after that, we have a special guest, Anders Björk from WAX Sweden, who will tell us a few words about the hotfix we applied to the WAX nodes last week. Right after that,
Joseph, Yanis, before you go on, can you start the recording? Because it seems I can't do it from my phone.
And we are recording now. Right after that, we're going to jump into the current network status, have a look at how the network is performing, and have a look at our validation tool, just to have a rough overview of what's going on right now. After that, we are going to talk about the current guidelines, which we just released, and clarify anything that's unclear. So that's where you can ask your questions and come to stage and talk with us. Right after that, we are having Mike from WAXDAO to present us his guild and his products, since he's the newest guild in the family. And we're closing with an open forum where you can just raise your hand and come to stage and talk freely about anything you want. Thanks for admitting the people. So, first and foremost, congratulations. The WAX OIG election concluded with Kefar winning the elections. Once again, congratulations. I'm really looking forward to work with you for another at least 12 months. Oh, my browser is deciding to hang up for a second. This time around, we had a count of 275 individual wallets voting, which is not too bad compared to previous elections. Overall, we can see that there's a lot of engagement happening around OIG elections. Community is voicing their concerns, improvements, and feedbacks, which always leads to an insightful and meaningful campaign period where we learn a lot about each other. We also had two great candidates, again, two Anders. We had a slight talk every now and then on Twitch streams. You guys probably know both of them very well. Next on the agenda is how we want to inform you in the future about updates happening in the OIG, what the OIG is currently doing, working on. And most of you probably didn't even know, but GitHub is not only a Subversion repository to archive your code, but it has also some very useful product management features. You can find all of that on the WAX OIG repository. I'll show you how you get there. Just visit our repository, then there's projects, and then there's the OIG backlog, which we set up with, thanks for sharing the link, which we set up 2 months ago, just to be a little bit more transparent and have the things tracked better. Also for you, you can just visit the backlog and see what we're working on, what's going on, what has been done already. There are several views in here regarding the WAX skills repository, which includes improvements to the process, to the reporting process, and also improvements and feedback for this roundtable call. And then we also have the WAX developer repository, which hosts the current developer documentation on WAX. There were a lot of to-dos and tasks done in the past few weeks, and some are still some tasks are still open, and some are also just for educational purpose. We try our best to assign priorities to the backlog to just accelerate more pressuring tasks. This is not final yet, but we're getting used to it, and overall it's GitHub, it's code repository, those are public issues. So whenever you have a nice idea or just want to hand us some feedback for tasks and processes, just log into your GitHub, open the issue, and start discussing with us. So since the roundtable is new and we are just grooving in and want to know if we are doing fine, and we are also open for feedback, I'll advise you to just visit the repository WAG skills, where there are a few issues. Just open a new issue and let us know your feedback for the roundtable, or just request some topics to be discussed. Whenever you feel we are missing out on something, just let us know via an issue, and that's the best way for us to pick up those topics and merge them into the next roundtable call. Going back to the agenda, we are also talking about timelines. I just went ahead and opened and added the current evaluation timeline for version 5.1, which is the current iteration of the guidelines. So whoever missed it out, it's constantly pinned in. It's regularly pinned in our WAX governance channel, so most of the guilds know. I think I'll go ahead and always put in the next evaluation cycle also on GitHub. So 3 days ago, we had a submission cutoff for the full evaluation reports, which includes also rating products. Those reports are due from our side until July 25th, where the report appeal then is open for 3 whole days until July 29th, 4 whole days. And then we also got our special appeal window, which you already know about. And of course, we are going to publish our final report then at the end of the month. Next up, I'll invite Anders from WAG Sweden to guide us through this nice article which WAG Sweden put up on their website. As most of you node operators already know, we had a security vulnerability to patch on all our nodes, which we did last week until Wednesday. All of the network upgraded their nodes in a timely manner. It's just fascinating to see how fast we can coordinate as a chain with 36 individual guilds and apply those upgrades to the network seemingly without interrupting user experience or any downtimes across history solutions. So well done to all the guilds, and I'm handing the word to Anders.
Yeah, thank you. I will not speak very long on this, but basically the developers behind Antelope found a denial of service vulnerability, a security vulnerability, which could kill any node. It doesn't matter if it's a producer, an API node, or whatever it is. And that could be done through on-chain actions. As far as they know, and we know, this has not been exploited. We have not seen this anywhere. And can I also ask you to just update your site right now, FM, because I added some more info below there.
Correct.
Yeah, so it has not been exploited. We have, in the past few days, we have redone our apt repo, so it makes it easier for everyone to install nodes directly from that. We have built official releases for 18.4, 20.4, and 22.4. We will also do it for 24.4 when that is released in April next year, which is Ubuntu versions. And there you can find all 3 versions which has this hotfix, including the other updates that they also released. There was a memory bug, and there are a few other things that they also fixed in this update. So 3.1.5 is the minimal version that you can get, but you can go to 3.2.4 or 4.04. You can get them directly from source, or you can use the apt repo, and I added a guide for how to do that if you're new to it. So you just need to do apt update, apt install, and then you can start to play with it. All good.
Nice. Thank you very much for this update, Anders. People are still joining in. So to everyone, in case you missed it and you know some guys operating nodes on Wax, shoot them this article to be on the safe side. Going back to the agenda, I wanted to give you a rough overview about the state of the network. I usually do this through Validation Core, but because it has like the nicest visual appearance of those scores. And as we can see in the past 30 days, despite the network upgrade we had, most of the APIs work still flawlessly. Especially the Wax mainnet is performing very, very well in terms of uptime. We still have some issues here and there, but overall the uptime is fabulous. Also, during evaluations, we usually, or once a week, we usually look at the detailed blockchain stats, which are hosted by EOS Nation on this link. I will share it in a few minutes, which holds all the information which can only be accessed through extracting the info from the logs. So right when the update was, we saw some inconsistencies in the network, but not too dramatically. So for example, walking through the stats, we could see that we had some issues on producers with blocks arriving late, which have been resolved shortly after. Didn't impact the network in any form during the update because of several reasons. The transaction rate could drop for a few hours or days. We also had an incident with one of our fellow guilds missing blocks because the backup didn't kick in. That happens even to the best. And overall, this page is very insightful to measure how the network is performing. Down below, we can also see how much average CPU gets consumed per round, average net per round. All of the details are in here, so just go ahead and have a look yourself whenever you want. You just need a GitHub or a Google account to access this site. I'm still looking for topics to expand this, so which parts of the network status we're looking at, but I think that's a good rough overview, which tells us that the network is healthy and performing well at the moment. Right, next in the agenda is guidelines in the question and answer. So for this evaluation, we released the version 5.1, which didn't have any major changes. We typically outline the changes for the guidelines at the top. So we had some minor changes here. We added a clarification on the Hyperion health check. We highlight those changes or addition in green, and also what we deleted in red. So you can see the changes here. The Hyperion changes still need to be finalized. We we had some feedback on it regarding guilds running different versions of Hyperion. Older versions of Hyperion didn't include the health check that new versions include. So newer Hyperion versions also show you in the health check if blocks are missing and how many blocks are missing, for example. This feature is not enabled on older Hyperion health checks. So we might revert this one. Another change we did was to update the requirements for the Delphi Oracle. As you know, the Delphi Oracle is a very important and vital part. The Delphi Price Oracle is a very important and vital part of Wax blockchain, which enables us to work with oracleized prices on chain, converting one token to another through a value that is accumulated by every guild and then averaged. So you can rely on this value, hopefully. And we changed the requirement so that you need to have the Wax PUSD price in order to avoid the penalty, which is a secondary requirement right now. Previously, it has been you either push a price or you don't, and now it's you need to have at least Wax PUSD. Also, our monthly requirements include this time that all guilds need to have the hotfix applied to the nodes for security reasons, obviously. And looking through a few of the reports, I can see that all of the guilds have updated their infrastructure. And then we had a monthly requirement this month. We asked guilds to submit the usage and metrics on the API endpoints because we wanted to find out how heavily Hyperion APIs, aka history solutions on Wax, are really utilized. Because sometimes it feels like get table rows does all the work, but historical data is necessary, we need it, but it's not that much accessed like live data from Chain API, for example. Let me show you a few examples of how this has been accomplished by guilds in the current report. I picked just the 4 to show how it should be done. So this one is Eosphere, submitting usage stats on their APIs, and we can see that the Chain API gets the Chain API gets 28 million requests served per day. The Wax Hyperion only 1.5 million requests per day, and the Wax Atomic API sits at around 2 million served requests per day. For Eosphere, which is an Australian guild, then we have also the Hive NFT Hive guild, which submitted stats. This is not too bad, but this is not exactly what we asked for because we want to see the difference between Chain API calls and also Hyperion calls. So this is not exactly how it should be done. And then we have also 3DK Render, submitting exactly what we're looking for, 188,000 V2 history queries and 14 million V1 history queries, of which are set around 9.5 million calls to get table rows. And then also EOS Amsterdam with some amazing stats. Wax RPC API with 432K requests per hour. Eosio Lite API with 170K requests per hour on average. And an average of 53K requests per hour to the Wax Hyperion. A good example to follow here for the guilds that are here today is this. So that's exactly what we're looking for. And next on the agenda, since we are introducing many guilds lately to the network. I want to hand the word to Mike from Waxdao, our youngest guild, to introduce himself and just say a few words about his products.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm the newest guild as of about 2 weeks ago. I'm the creator of waxdao.io. Most of you guys probably have heard of it. We build tools for creators. We've been around since June of 2022. And just decided to go the block producer route in the last couple of months. So we're finally here. And yeah, I don't know if you had any specific questions or anything, but.
Yeah, just walk us through Waxdao. What can you do with it? What's the number one purpose for Waxdao?
So I would say our flagship product would be our NFT farms, where pretty much any project on Wax could create their own staking system by just clicking a few buttons and filling out a form. You don't need your own contractor, any development skills or anything like that. And we have a whole bunch of other products that are pretty much all based on the same concept. It's pretty much blockchain as a service. So tools that help people add value to their own projects without needing to learn how to code. We have an NFT market on there, which it's not a secondary, it's just drops for now and blends and stuff, but I'm going to be building on that over the coming months. Pretty much all the things that I've wanted to do for the last year that people have been asking for forever. I'm able to do those and focus on those now, because now that I'm a guild, I'm able to have not having to worry about finances nonstop. So I'm able to focus on building the products more, which is a good thing for everybody.
Great. So also, I think a very, very interesting part about your product is all the custodial services. Like you can create a token, you can set up an easy token staking, NFT farms, as you just said. You can directly or very easily create blends. And then there's also DAO creators, a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah, we just launched the new version of the DAOs actually that support non-custodial NFT voting. So you can actually vote on stuff and keep your NFTs in your wallet. So no more sending them to the contract.
Great. So in case you have questions about the product, just reach out to Mike directly. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
And that's about our short agenda for today. We are grooving in. If you have any feedback or suggestions for improvement, if you want to see a topic discussed on those roundtable calls, just open an issue and I'll take care of it to have it added to the agenda. And also don't hesitate to just message me directly if you want to know anything. And let's see if we got any questions in chat right now. So we have Anders from Pixagon asking a lot of questions. If you want to, you can come up to stage and talk. I can promote you to a co-host.
There's also 2 people holding up hand to ask a question.
Oh, excuse me, I missed that. All right, holding up hands. I see. Yeah, let's start on the left side. Trent, go ahead.
Check.
Mic check.
Yes.
Yeah. We can hear you.
Yeah, 1 second. I got an echo. All right. Hi, my name is Trent, aka TV. So first and foremost, I want to thank Ennio for the blog article that he put out about the Antelope v4 vulnerability. I think it's fantastic that he does that. He did it for the vulnerabilities that we've seen in the past in August, and I think again in January. but and there's no disrespect to Daniel, he is just a guild, correct? Like he's just a block producer guild. Like I understand he's a veteran, he's a leader in that sense, but he's not Wax or the OIG. And so my question is, why is this person who's doing a great job? Don't get me wrong, being relied on to do a job that I feel like it should be coming directly from either the CTO or Wax or the OIG. It's very typical in any corporate environment for like, you know, a postmortem to be done when something like this, like, you know, in August when that goes down, your CTO or your CEO would be issuing a company-wide email with a postmortem explaining what happened. And we didn't see that. We got a blog post, which was great, but it's not the same thing. And just to kind of expand on that, if you look at the dichotomy between the Antelope v4, I mean, I had it pulled up here. The Antelope v4 release notes, critical patch, security vulnerability, bug fixes, you need to upgrade, et cetera, et cetera. And then you look at the one from Wax and it says release v4 and that's it. And if you didn't see the blog post and you didn't like, I feel like this GitHub here from Wax is insufficient in my opinion compared to the Antelope one. I don't know if y'all agree or not, but it's just something that I noticed. And I guess it's just a suggestion. Again, no disrespect to Anio. I read everything that he writes. And it's fantastic, but I don't feel like he should be leaned on as, unless y'all want to promote him to, you know, whatever. Can't think of something.
That's a great feedback. I think I've heard that in the past few days already. Best I can do is,
if he's doing an incredible job, like he should be on a payroll then. Like otherwise, he's doing it because he loves the chain and he understands it. At least that's my observation.
It literally is his job. Yes. Can you guys hear me right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think there is still a misconception about what the jobs of the guilds are, and this is part of the jobs of the guilds. Wax is part of the Antelope coalition, so everything that applies to Antelope usually also applies to Wax. So there is no real need to track that separately unless it's something specific to Wax. And part of the job of the guilds is to maintain the infrastructure, and all the code binaries and the libraries are maintained by the guild, at least everything that is leaf specific and belongs to the rest of the chain. So unless there's something that is a specific issue of Wax itself, like the Wax system contracts that are adjusted or something, then it's a different story. But for like the issues we had on Wax, these are Antelope issues, and this is part of the decentralized architecture of Wax. So the guilds are paid to help with this. They are paid to do the postmortems like Ennio did. Yeah. This is part of everybody's job, and it's not specific to the city of Wax or the Wax OIG. It is part of the work of the guilds, and that was the way it was handled. And that's the correct way to do it.
I would agree to fix
exactly how it's supposed to work and works.
PR and communication, I feel like, and it's fine. It's just my opinion. It's just my opinion that PR and communication shouldn't fall upon that sector, but it's all good. I just have one more thing, and then I'll see. I think is next. In the we briefly looked at the criteria for the guilds, and it looked like y'all had added a lot of stuff as far as like rubrics were concerned. But one thing that I did notice is that even though technical was robust, and I believe product ecosystem had like maybe one sentence. And I don't have it in front of me, but it was basically the OIGs will decide what is good and what's not good. Like it wasn't that blunt, but essentially that's what it communicated. And at 30 or 40%, like I know that it's I know that eco and product are the majority of the score? Why is it that it has the least amount of criteria? And
You cannot apply these.
So to an extent,
There's
are
also misconceptions.
Kepa, you're cutting out, unfortunately. So,
Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me now?
yeah.
I was just wanted to know that there's a misconceptions on how the scoring works and the percentages. This is just the maximum percentage share of what is possible. It does not mean that it actually makes up that percentage of the points.
Right.
Because nobody has the maximum possible points in product development and the maximum possible points in ecosystem development.
Right.
So these are just there for reference, but they don't actually mean that this is the percentage distribution of how the point works.
Right. That really wasn't my complaint. It was more about what's acceptable and what's expected to pass and fail as far as like what your product is. And I can give you an example. Like, let's say I were to have gone through every guild report and pulled the hyperlink for the website that they were claiming was the ecosystem, and I put it in an array in a loop, and I pinged, is it down for everyone or just me? And I got a bunch of 502s back, meaning that the site wasn't even up. Would that surprise you? And would you feel like that was a problem? Like, people are putting up products that they're saying that are contributing to the ecosystem, and they're not even live. At least not the links that.
So there's two mechanics in place for this one. So products and ecosystem contributions naturally decay over time. So
I've seen that. Yep.
To uphold the score, you will need to submit updates and what you have been doing in the past 6 weeks. And that's where we can see if an effort has been put into the product and or this engagement, and the score can be upheld. What we also do is we visit those tools whenever we evaluate a guild, because evaluating a guild is also includes decaying the product. So you naturally open the product, the websites, and if we see something like a 502.
So it should be a decaying status if that were the case. Correct?
Exactly. If that is for a prolonged time, the product is also categorized as abundant, which leads to a score of 0. So the guild roster is growing very fast. We are at 36 guilds now. It's getting very complicated to check all those tools, but we do this, and those two mechanics should be enough to not credit a score for a product that is not running, or an ecosystem that's not bringing value.
Gotcha.
And it's possible that you're checking one of the websites for a project or ecosystem contribution, and it's down right in that moment. We don't do a constant check like every day that everything is up and running.
Right.
And when we see that, we connect with the VP, with the guild, and say, hey, what's wrong with that, right? Are you guys, dropping support, or it's just you are not paying attention to the website, to the project, or whatever, right? So we also take notes about that.
Right. Thank you for that answer. I don't know if you heard me, but personally, I feel like you guys are overworked. You're trying to jam way too much into 3 of y'all in a short period of time. But again, that's just my opinion. I would get another one of you, at least another one, if not 2. Keep it odd. One last question. I thought that was it. BP. So I know there's a JSON file, right, that you can find on the chain somewhere, and it has information about the guild and its ownership. How is that checked? And if that were incorrect, what steps would the OIG take to rectify that?
That's a really good question. How can I check if a company exists and who is the ownership of a company? We cannot do that.
Well, that's
just-
not true. Each country is different. You could do it pretty easily here in the States. I don't know about
Sure. Yeah,
right.
but I mean, there are different legislations around the world,
Right.
and there are
Yeah.
ways to go around this. And I don't think it's our work to police if a company actually exists.
Right.
What we
Right.
do is do the OIG calls and get to know the teams. There are
Yeah. Sure.
some real people that show up to our invitation for a call, and then we stay in contact with them. And what we do is some kind of, I will say, like social KYC, right? Everybody knows each other some way or
Once
another.
you see somebody's face, you know that they're a real person.
Yeah, I've been in this EOS ecosystem since 2017.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I rely a lot on not just colleagues, my friends in other guilds, to get references from new guilds. And it's not that we are getting like 10 new guilds every month, sadly. That would be nice.
Right.
But I mean, yeah.
Do you think it would be a good idea to maybe have some sort of private or an anonymous submission for if somebody were to find something that was just looked way off according to
Sure.
Well, okay.
Anything that you guys see.
I mean, I wouldn't need that. I would just bring it. I would just bring it.
I get it. Yeah, any information that you guys think that is relevant for us to know, please send it to our email, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So on Wax, it's not as easy as it is in other chains where you just set up your producer and you just start producing and then you get paid without any evidence that the network is not run by the same person, So what we want to make sure is that they are all separate entities, that the person behind is a true person. In the most cases, we know that person because he has been around on Wax for a few months before applying as a BP. And what also helps is just asking around on guilds, hey, do you know them? Or did they inquire you to set up infra, stuff like that? So we don't let that slip through.
Gotcha. Does the OIG have a code of conduct? I haven't looked. That just an expectation that they hold of their BPs, just in general, like a code of conduct, ethics, any of that.
So the OIG itself doesn't have this yet, I think. We wanted to put up some paragraphs about the code of conduct, which we operate in, and all that. But we require guilds to have a code of conduct and to commit to all the great things that we want to see from guilds.
Right. Yeah. Has a guild ever been removed from the top 21 without having fallen out by score? Like, have they ever done something so terrible that y'all had to just be like, you got to go, or does it not work that way? I'm just curious.
At least not in the past 24 months. So since I'm in the G, this didn't happen, but the other agents are around longer.
It never happened. What happened is that we got some report submissions with claims that after a minor investigation, it turns to be not quite, not quite correct, right? So the only happened is that we decided to ignore that product or that social contributions to the ecosystem because we couldn't find the proof that they were accurate, let's say, in one way.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, thank you for letting me speak. I love you guys. I love Wax. I know I could be a pain in the ass. I know it, and I'm not going to say I'm sorry because I wouldn't mean it. I just want the best for Wax, and I think we can get there. So that's all I got.
Thanks for coming to the stage, Trent.
Yeah, man. Yep.
So let me scroll through questions we might have received in the meantime. I see the Pixagon Anders is furiously chatting. You can
Bashing
come,
us with questions.
Yeah, you can come to stage and talk with us directly if you want to. You can unmute yourself. By the way, Pixagon Anders has been candidate in the past OIG election for everyone who missed it. I'm sure everyone here knows about it. If not, in 2 weeks you have the next chance. So we plan to conduct this regularly, every 2 weeks now. Next update might be shorter, might be longer. You can request your topics just in the Telegram channel or on the GitHub repo, and we will discuss it. As soon as we groove in, we might get into more advanced topics like discussions about history solutions, which is a never-ending story on WAX, or just general discussions about what's happening here on WAX. And if nobody has questions right now.
Wait, Kiefer was asking to share the link.
Which one?
Of the new, yeah, I beat you, Anders.
Okay. Yeah, let's have a look at that also. So this was relaunched 2 or 3 months ago. The guild behind it is Sentinel Agents. They have built a tableless tool for validations, where the tool checks and monitors the most common things we use to score, and it auto discovers the guilds from chain. So once you rec from mainnet, you will find yourself in here. Also works also for standbys, tracks also testnet and everything, CPU score. And a very important part, if the JSON on chain is the same as the JSON on the server, the BP JSON. That's a good source of truth when it comes to monitoring the network. So actually, I'm going to walk you through all the tools we're using. First, usually you will start with the general guild status, which is performed by EOS Nation. And it checks if anything is set up correctly. For example, change.json is discoverable, your organization has been added to BP-JSON, if the peering is possible, and then it also performs some checks on APIs like Atomic API, Chain API, and in some cases also Hyperion. This does not hold a time machine, so it is updated every 30 minutes, but you can't go back to older versions.
Oh, there is, yeah.
Yeah, please.
Sorry, no, as soon as you finish, I want to mention something about the latest version. I'll do it as soon as you finish.
All right. And then we have tools with a built-in time machine. So, for example, validation score is able to track those APIs over a very long time, and you can also scroll back in time to see how the setup was on a specific date, which is working so nicely. It is, but it feels like my browser is hanging a little bit. Anyways,
yeah.
I just showed it. Oh, there it is. And then we have the validations, which show the details that have been monitored. And then we have the time machine here, which enables you to have a look at how the network was how the guild was performing. For example, May 15th. And you can just load that and see, okay, there was an issue maybe on some history node. The history node was up and running, but some of the requests were failing for whatever reason. So that's a pretty handy tool. Also, S-Engine by Sentinels, which has detailed pages with a nice overview and trimmed down to, I think, a few requests per day. It should be much more now than it was previously. And then you can just go ahead and type in your desired time frame. When we evaluate APIs, we usually look at an average of 42 days, and this average then shows here on top the percentage of this average for the past 42 days. You shouldn't rely on those percentage values, but do some due diligence whenever you find something was down, because validation tools are not always perfect, but they work very good for our purpose. And it's often that you might see an issue here, but then, okay, you go to LedgerWise and you have a look at this guild on LedgerWise, and you can see that LedgerWise had no issue with this API. And that's where we need to cross-check across validators to see if the stats are correct. So we usually use those three to score APIs, to score the TechOps part. And I don't want to spoil you, but LedgerWise is also building a Grafana dashboard, which is much nicer, has more possibilities, and it will be released soon, and it will monitor the whole mainnet and testnet. Made sense for them to implement this because they already had all the data and all the knowledge through this validator. So yeah, those are the most common validator tools. And Joseph had to add something here.
Yeah, it's about the latest version with the security patch. I've been running some tests during the last few days. A few of you got messages from me during the weekend asking you some questions. This message is for the guilds. If any of you is doing some tests with 4.4 and got into some, I don't know, whatever problem you got, please let me know, because I'm not sure if I found the bug, or I don't know, I'm trying to reproduce it. But I've been trying to sync ship node, which is state history, which do we need for Hyperion, from Genesis on testnet, and I ran into at least 3 times I got issues and stopped syncing. It also happening with a regular node, but I'm still trying to figure out how and why this is happening, right? I know that there was a bug for ship nodes in previous versions that it's supposed to be fixed in the latest one. And I managed to get one synchronized without an issue, but the same server, as soon as we got it synchronized, I wipe out everything and start synchronizing again. And then it stopped around 210 million blocks on testnet. So it's weird because I don't know why in some cases it just stopped synchronizing, trying to figure out if I have to open an issue on the Antelope repository, or it's just something on my setup. So if you guys run any test and you get into any issues, especially with poison blocks, you guys know what a poison block is, so just let me know, okay?
Right. Probably we should make sure that more of the node operators are attending this call, but I think as soon as we groove in here, we'll see much more people joining. I know for a fact that some of the node operators didn't have time to join now, but since we're meeting every 2 weeks now, we'll have plenty of chance to talk about exactly those topics. Thanks, Joseph, for sharing your insights. Anyone else keen to talk? If you have a question, now's the time to come to stage and talk with us. So I guess no. So let's call it. Thanks, and thanks everyone for attending. Also, thanks to our special guests, Anders and Mike, for joining on a late request and helping out. Shoot us your feedback, improvements, whatever you might, whatever you want to see discussed next time we talk. Just let us know ahead, and I'll make sure to have it in the agenda. And that's it from our side. Everyone, have a great day, night, and morning, and talk to you soon.